Hello there, how is everyone? I hope you're all well on this stupendous Sunday. That's it, it's Sunday, it's the weekend still, and tomorrow's Monday, and let's hope we have a better week this upcoming week than we did last week. It's a bit of a hectic one last week, wasn't it? But anyway, this is video 1 of 3. Yeah, that's right, it's Sunday, and I'm doing 3 videos. Now, this first video, and by the way, you're looking absolutely amazing. We're going to get straight into some meat and potatoes because I have a question. What are some of these families hiding? Because I believe there are things being hidden, and I believe that there has been proof of things being hidden throughout this entire case. And who am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about primarily the Chapins. Now, we have seen the Chapins distance themselves away from this case. Now, early on in this situation, the Chapins were part of the community on Reddit, and they were commenting on Reddit. One person in particular was Ethan's older half-brother, Eric. Now, Eric would comment on there saying that he wishes that he could just blurt out what he knew. But out of respect for his family, he would leave it until the time was right, or believed that potentially what is known would come out. And it had me thinking, what would Eric be talking about? What would Eric be talking about? And in order to kind of understand what he could be talking about, you have to kind of factor in some other pieces of the puzzle, some other information that's come out. And one piece that I feel could potentially have a connection to this is the fact that Steve Gonsalves, and again, I know this is going over old news, but the more you kind of dig into what happened early on, going back to the beginning, it kind of starts to come together. Now, is it coming together and we're not getting the full picture? And that's possible. But Steve Gonsalves had said they didn't have to go upstairs. It didn't have to go upstairs. And we can speculate, we can guess what Steve Gonsalves meant, but the most logical thing means that whoever did this crime, they came in with a specific target involved, and the specific target happened to be downstairs, and the specific target happened to be Xana and or Ethan. And we know also, for those of you who have been following for a while, that the Chapin family failed to and have failed to rarely mention Xana. And I find that quite bizarre. I found that quite odd. Did they consider Xana a bad influence? We also know that the lock on Xana's door had been changed recently. And there's many excuses for that don't have a nefarious link to it. Don't get me wrong, I do believe that. And I'm not by any means turning around and saying that I 100% believe that the reason the lock was changed was because of some nefarious intent. There was something going on and they needed to hide stuff. But when you factor in a lot of things, it don't look good. Something else Steve Gonsalves had alluded to, and that was the fact that there would be information that would come out that people would find gross. Gross was the terminology. And, I will say in the UK, gross may have a different meaning than what it does in the US. We use different words, like we use pants in a different way that the US uses pants. So my interpretation of gross may be different than what you in the US may consider the word gross. But gross, I think, is pretty universal in that it's going to be something that are going to shock people. So it led me down a bit of a route of discovery, I suppose. What would I consider people could consider gross, and factoring in the fact that Eric had come forward and said that he wishes he could just blurt out and say what he knew, but out of respect for his family he wouldn't, and why Steve Gonsalves would consider that whoever entered into this house had done so with the sole intention of originally attacking Xana and or Ethan. And it leads back to a potential narcotics connection. Now, I know that's not the most popular thing to talk about, but you have to kind of understand that this crime happened for a reason. It did happen for a reason, and that reason still eludes us. Now, we're saying that Brian Kohberger wasn't stalking. They're saying that there is no proof of him stalking. Okay, and this is the important part. Because they're still saying that Brian Kohberger had come into this area sometimes late at night, around 12 times. So you've either got to understand that the story, what they want to talk about with Wawari Park, is either true, and Brian Kohberger was frequenting the area to go and hike these trails, or to gaze at the moon and stars. I know some people find that hilarious, but that is either what he was doing, or he was in fact going there for a specific reason, because there was these occasions where he would be caught on a cell phone tower in that area around 12 times. So if he wasn't going to Wawari Park, where was he going? Was he going there? And it wasn't necessarily for stalking, was it? Now, they're saying that he didn't go there stalking. There's no proof of stalking. You know that they said, Bill Thompson called out in the here and about these surveys that went out, and he said, there's not stalking, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Brian Kohberger wasn't interacting with the group over this period of time. Doesn't mean that he wasn't going there for some other reason. Also, we know that right at the beginning, James Fry had turned around and said that he believed that it was a targeted and isolated attack, and there was some confusion over whether the individuals in the house were being targeted or whether the house was being targeted. And again, that would go hand in hand with potential narcotics situation, because you would lead yourself to believe, did somebody know that the house potentially had narcotics within it, or did someone know that the people in the house were dealing in narcotics? So it's one of those, isn't it? Whether the house was known or whether the individuals were known. But something's going to come out. I think something is going to come out. And there are things being hidden here. There is 100% things being hidden here. And we know that a lot of the papers, when they get filed, they're there to protect people. It says they're protecting the well-being, they're protecting, this, that, and the other. And it makes you wonder who indeed they really are protecting, because I don't think for one second that is Brian Kohberger, but is it protecting the reputations of the victims and those left behind? Is it about protecting them from a public backlash in the event that some of these things come out? But it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts, because like I say, I feel that there is a lot of things going on that if you really take the time to read them and look into them, it is pointing that there could indeed be a reason that this crime happened. Now, I'm not saying it's a justifiable reason. I don't think, and will categorically state that whatever these kids were doing, they didn't deserve to have happened to them what did, but it happened for a reason. And we can't just put a bubble of protection over everyone and pretend that everyone's angels and that nothing happened and just this monster came along out of the blue, just plucked them out of the air. Say it was Brian Kohberger who did it. Some of the reasons why some of you people who are guilters believe Brian Kohberger did it, that doesn't actually make a lot of sense. And in video 3 today, so keep your eyes peeled, subscribe if you haven't already, and like this video, because it helps the channel, I'm going to explain why it doesn't really make sense that Brian Kohberger went here, if you want to factor in some of the reasons that people are using for saying that he did it. But let me know down below what you think. What are the Chapin family hiding? Do you think they're hiding anything? What did Eric want everybody to know? I'll catch you all in the next one.